Hey, y'all, did y'all miss us? Because we sure miss you. Look, watch, like, and subscribe to our channel at Sister Sis 1988, as well as follow us on all our social media platforms at Sister Sis 1988. We have a wonderful guest on our show today, and we cannot wait to introduce him to you. But first, let us get started. I'm Jamie.
I'm Latoya.
And I'm Calandra.
And we are going to go ahead and let our super duper special guest all the way down here from, once again, where is it, Mr. Hicks?
From Knoxville, Tennessee.
Introduce yourself to our audience, and then we're going to dive right on in.
Very good. I am Mark Hicks. I am an author, a speaker, do a little ghostwriting as well. So if anybody ever wanted to write a book and wondered how, I can help with that also. And I'm a relationship specialist. I'm the author of the book, Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters and Healthy Relationships That Last. And that book is going through a bit of a transition as I speak. It was self-published last year, available on Amazon. Just recently took that down because it was picked up by Morgan James Publishing and is being prepared now for distribution nationwide. And so in just a few months, it will be available wherever books are sold.
All right.
All right.
And that takes me to our first question. So what inspired you to write the book, Learning to Love?
I was raised in a healthy family, and not everyone can say that. It's not a perfect family. There's no such thing, but not everyone gets to say they were raised in a healthy family. And one of the things I learned the hard way is that even if you were raised in a good, healthy, happy family life, you don't know everything you need to know about relationships. When you get into your adult years, it's still difficult. Your family doesn't function the way everyone else does. It may have functioned well for you, but you get out into the world and it's still difficult. And I ended up in my early life in a first marriage that was completely toxic. It was a train wreck of a relationship. Stuck in there for a long time with that because I was raised to believe that marriage was permanent, that divorce was not an option, and that it was till death do you part. And I believed in that, and I wanted that, and I worked towards that, and it was not possible. It ended in divorce, and that's a very painful experience in my life. And I still have the emotional scars to show for that one. But that was one of the things that, looking back, I can see now sort of planted a seed. I didn't understand it at the time, but it really planted a seed of wanting to know what love is and how do we live that out. How do we come from good families and still ended up in toxic relationships? Mm-hmm. And those that were raised in very dysfunctional families or abusive backgrounds, how in the world would someone know how to build healthy relationships if they were raised in a toxic household growing up? I also have as my career path sort of a dual track career. I have a master's degree in mental health counseling, and I've worked as a therapist in hospitals and clinics in a number of places. I also have a background in theology and ministry and spirituality. I've worked in churches and in mission projects and nonprofits. And so over the years, those two have sort of merged together at times and been separate at times. But as someone coming from a perspective of psychology and counseling, obviously I'm interested in relationships that affect every part of our life, not just our marriage or family, but also friendships and coworkers and neighbors and humanity. How do we live together on this planet in every area? And as a spiritual person from an aspect of ministry and theology, that also has a lot to do with relationships and how do we get along as human beings? How do we build healthy families? And from my own experience of going through such a difficult time early in my life, of how do we build healthy relationships? And I'm living that out. It's a practice. You never fully achieve perfection when it comes to relationships. It's a practice. Ever. But I'm practicing. And I'm remarried now. I have a wonderful relationship. I swore I would never marry again after the first very painful experience. But then I met Heather and changed my mind. And we have a great relationship. Again, no relationship's perfect. It's always work. We always have to strive for it. But it's a wonderful experience in my life. I'm so lucky to have her. And I've often said, I've experienced a bad marriage and a good marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
it's better. And so we need to work towards that. We need to have the skills to work towards that. And that's what I came to understand is through all of these tracks, personal experience and psychology and spirituality, that love is a learned skill set. Love is something we can learn. It's something we practice, and we build on the components of love. And we learn and practice these components, and we can build healthy relationships.
Why do you think people from dysfunctional backgrounds often struggle with maintaining healthy relationships?
Being from a dysfunctional background is extraordinarily difficult because you're not learning that any of the real skill sets of love. Most people, if you come from a healthy family, may not learn everything you need to know, but you learn some of it. If you come from an abusive background or a toxic background, dysfunctional background, it's much more difficult, but it can be done. And one of the things you need to learn if you've come from a dysfunctional background is your own self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the struggles coming out of a particularly abusive backgrounds or toxic backgrounds is the toll it takes on our own worthiness, our own self-love. And the problem with that is you cannot love other people more than you love yourself. I always credit Brene Brown when I say that because she's done some tremendous research and some writing in this area. Other people have as well, but she's the most noted for that and does some great work in this area. You cannot love other people more than you love yourself. And when you come from bad experiences, particularly in childhood, but even as an adult coming out of a divorce or anything like that, very often we are looking to be validated from the outside. We're looking for relationships to fix us, and it doesn't work that way. You have to love yourself first. And the reason for that is that love is organic. It's not a commodity like money. If you need extra money, you can go get a second job. You can take out a loan. You can beg money from friends or family. You can steal money, but I don't recommend that one. There's a lot of ways you can get money, either good ways or bad ways, but there's a number of different ways you can go about it. Love is not like that. It's organic. It has to be grown within us. And so the limit to your ability to love others and connect with others is the amount of love you can have for yourself. And so we grow that within ourselves. And a lot of folks coming from dysfunctional backgrounds just don't know that. They don't know that that's the goal. They don't know their own worthiness. We have to learn our own self-worth, our own value, our own love of ourselves so that we can have love for other people and build those relationships.
Ooh, I agree with that 100%.
It's vital, and a lot of folks just don't realize it. They're looking, as I said, to be validated from the outside, looking for someone to fill their cup, and that's not the way it works. And you can look a long time for that and not find it. We have to learn to love ourselves and understand our own value. And when you begin to explore that, you'll find out that you actually do have it, that it does exist. And one of the things that I ask people to do is imagine a diamond the size of a baseball, a baseball-sized diamond that was perfectly cut, perfectly clear, baseball-sized diamond, and think, how much would that be worth? Well, it's utterly priceless.
Right.
Now, if we go out into an open field, go out into a cow pasture, and we roll that diamond around in the muck and the mire and the cow manure, bring it back in, how much is it worth now? It's still priceless if you know what it is. If you just look at the exterior, just look at what happened to it, it just looks nasty. But if you understand what it is, it's exquisite. And that's what happens with us. When we begin to explore our own self-worth, yeah, a lot of stuff happened to us. We've been rolled around in the muck and the mire and the cow manure in life. We've got a lot of stuff that happened to us. And some of it's of our own making, with our own mistakes. It's not just what happened to us, but the things we did to ourselves and the mistakes we made. But those are all exterior, the stuff that happens in life. When we begin to understand and get past all of that, look deeper than that, and find our own worth, we find something exquisite. And it's there in all of us. And when we see it in ourselves, we can begin to see it in others and have that connection. If we came from a dysfunctional family, that's going to take some work to do, but everyone can do it.
Right,
So
right.
how can someone recognize if their past is affecting their current relationships in a negative way?
If you've had negative relationships in the past, it's very easy to let that bleed over into your current relationships. And the solution to that is grief. We have to learn how to grieve the hardships of life. If you learn how to grieve, it's going to take you a long way down the path of love. In my book, I describe grief as the first component of love. And that surprises a lot of people because we think about love as more bubblegum and butterflies. Everything's sweet and beautiful. Grief is a vital aspect of learning to love because you don't get through this life without scars. And we are going to have bad experiences along the way. And we are going to experience tragedies. And sometimes people we love are going to die. And that's not being pessimistic because there's beautiful, wonderful things of life. But the reality is life is going to be painful sometimes. And if we don't know how to grieve, particularly those painful relationships, those breakups, the divorce, the hardships we had with our parents growing up, if we came from a dysfunctional family, we are not going to be able to connect in the right way with our current relationships because we'll be defensive. We tend to put up emotional barriers and blockades to protect ourselves, to try to keep from getting hurt again. And that only keeps us from being in those loving relationships now. If we've been through tough times, and everyone goes through tough times, we have to learn to grieve. That's not fun, but it's a healer. Grief is a healer. And what we begin to understand is even when we've been through horrific things of life, horribly painful things of life, there are some things that are so painful that they will leave a hole in your heart. But you can live a really good life with a hole in your heart. And that's what grief teaches us to do. We can't go back and fix things.
Right.
We can't change what happened in the past. We're always going to live with a hole in our heart if we've gone through some sort of horrible tragedy. But grief allows us to heal to a place you can live a really good life with a hole in your heart. And once we know that and we grieve those pains of the past, we can go on to a really good future.
So true. I agree with that one.
I'm just sitting over like, wow.
And Brene Brown she's a great author. I read a lot of her.
Tremendous.
Yeah, I read a lot of her leadership books. Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah. She's one I quoted in my book. She's fantastic. A lot of great authors out there, and she's definitely one of them. And
yeah, she definitely
great work on relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mr. Hicks, what does a healthy, thriving relationship look like to you?
To me, I would use the word happy. If people are happy, then they're having a thriving relationship. It doesn't have to meet a stereotype. I know a lot of people have a certain way they think about family. That may come from their background. It may come from their religion. It may come from their politics. It could come from a lot of different places that people think that family fits a certain mold. And I'll show respect to all of those different opinions. I don't think we have to fit a certain mold. We just need to be happy. And that's an important aspect of love, is to be happy in those relationships, to enjoy them. There's work to be done, and we don't want to ignore the work that needs to be done in relationships, but a healthy, thriving relationship is a happy relationship. It's one that the people are doing the work to live together the right way, to connect emotionally and enjoy what they're doing, enjoy their life together. A lot of people, on paper, their relationship should be good. They look like they're a healthy relationship. Young people grow up, they fall in love, they get married, they have kids, they get the job, they get a promotion, they buy a house, they have the children, and then they wonder, what happened?
Right.
They get to be in their 30s, their 40s, and they think, is this it? And they've checked off all the lists, and it's all good. They love their spouse, they love their children, they love their home they've built, they enjoy their jobs, they're good at it, they got plenty of money. All the things should look good, and yet they're not. And what they're usually missing is they've forgotten to be happy, to actually enjoy all these things. If you love what you do for a living, enjoy it. Yes, it's a grind
Right.
sometimes. It always is. Every job's a grind sometimes. And yes, raising children is exhausting and it's draining, and keeping a household is difficult. All these things take work, but don't forget to enjoy it while you're doing it. Find some ways to enjoy it. That's a vital aspect of love. And so if we are going to have healthy, happy families, it doesn't have to meet a stereotype. Don't try to just check everything off of a list. Learn to do the right things to build a good life, and then enjoy it. Be happy.
Mm.
Well, I do appreciate it, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, I think that's a good stopping point for us. I do appreciate the time, and I just within this short time frame, I've learned a lot, because I do think at times that we do kind of cookie cut what we think love is. Everybody have a cookie cutter of what they think it should look like
Yes.
and what it should sound like. But so
Until next time.
there is strength in sisterhood.
And support in sisterhood.
Bye.
Bye.